Pareciera que las personas que trabajan para Donald Trump tienen tres únicas funciones: encubrir crímenes para Donald Trump y mentir en Fox News para que nadie se entere de lo que está pasando realmente. Y saben, Pam Bondi, la fiscal general de Estados Unidos, está cumpliendo las tres funciones a la vez. Pero la tercera parte de su trabajo lo está haciendo de una forma deplorable. Pues Pam Bondi acaba de echar a la basura el plan de Donald Trump de, ya saben, atacar Washington DC con toda la Guardia Nacional, alegando que estaba buscando aumentar la seguridad y bajar la tasa de criminalidad. Todo esto con una confesión directamente en contra de Donald Trump. Y ahora, antes de entrar en esta confesión de Pam Bondi que afecta directamente a Donald Trump, y en una conferencia que dio Elizabeth Warren que estoy muy emocionado de mostrarte, quiero que veas a Robert García señalando todas las mentiras de Pam Bondi. Comencemos.
This Department of Justice cannot be trusted and works at the direction of the president. And we've got to just start with those basic facts. What we received today is about 33,000 pages of documents. We understand that it is a batch of documents, and there are significant more documents that have yet to be released. And remember, the bipartisan vote to actually get the full subpoena and documents was supposed to be all at once, already delivered, unredacted. That has failed and not yet happened, of course. And so what we got today, and I think it's important to note that there's a lot of reviews still happening, it appears that a vast majority of the documents today are already in the public record. And so these are court transcripts, reports, already things that we already know. There may be some new information in there about some flight information or Jeffrey Epstein's plane. We're reviewing that, but it appears that a vast majority is in the public record. So nothing substantially new that we know of yet. We'll review those still throughout the night and the weekend. And so we understand that right now Pam Bondi can send us the entire set of documents, but refuses to do so. But what the Trump administration doesn't understand, that as much as they want to hide this full release, we know there are also hundreds of FBI agents that have been working on this case that know or are aware of the collection of these documents. So if they think they're going to hide, redact, and keep this information from the American public, it will come out and the truth will come out.
Pam Bondi es una simple extensión de Donald Trump. Por eso me parece gracioso que estos fieles seguidores de MAGA se enojen con Pam Bondi y digan que es lo peor, porque al hacer esto no se dan cuenta que están atacando directamente a Donald Trump, pero sin darse cuenta. Pero esto es lo que está buscando Pam Bondi justamente, usar cualquier mecanismo de poder para fungir como un escudo para que a Donald Trump no le pase nada, la gente no diga nada malo de Donald Trump y todos ataquen a Pam Bondi mientras prácticamente se hace lo que Donald Trump está pidiendo que se haga. Pero claro, todo esto únicamente provoca más atención sobre Donald Trump y todo lo que está haciendo. Cada promesa que rompe significa que vamos a cubrirlo aún más. Y antes de entrar en el tema de Pam Bondi, quiero que escuches a la senadora Elizabeth Warren. Mira el clip, por favor.
And I think I remember he said he would release all of the Epstein files. Yeah, so what happens? Donald Trump now, he can't remember any of that. He can't talk about any of that. Accountability is what a democracy is about. And let's just be really clear with Donald Trump. We want to help the Ukrainians when they fight back against a Russian invasion. We want to put an end to the war in Gaza and feed those starving children. And Buster, we want to see all of the Epstein files.
Y aunque yo no creo que todos estos temas se tengan que tratar como que si estuvieran interconectados, tristemente sí lo son, sí están interconectados, son promesas hechas y promesas rotas. Siempre están engañando al pueblo, ¿y por quién? Por culpa de los multimillonarios. ¿Cuál es la forma de Donald Trump de poder defenderse de todo esto y tratar de buscar de que aunque la gente no lo está apoyando, ganar más y más poder? Pues básicamente quiere apropiarse de estado por estado, haciendo lo que está haciendo, valga la redundancia, dentro de Washington DC. Es enviar un montón, por así, una cantidad inmensa de Guardia Nacional, de agentes del ICE, dentro de Washington DC para intimidar, atacar, asustar y amenazar a todo el pueblo. ¿Para qué? Para que la gente se asuste. Y si el plan de Donald Trump le sale bien, como la criminalidad ya está muy baja dentro de Washington, si llega a decaer un poco más este porcentaje, lo que él va a hacer es usar esto como un precedente, o sea, como un antecedente, por así decirlo, para hacer lo mismo en estado por estado, obviamente empezando por estados azules o estados demócratas, para dominarlos, cosa que cuando vengan estas elecciones de medio término, y si Donald Trump logra eliminar el voto por correo, la gente tenga miedo de ir a votar, la gente esté asustada de salir a las calles, pues sabe que sea muy probable que los encarcelen, los desaparezcan, los ataquen, los intimiden, y así Donald Trump puede tener a todo el estado asustado. Y se puede lograr su meta de ganar las elecciones de medio término del 2026, y si esto se da, cada vez se hace más posible que él pueda postularse para candidato presidencial en el 2028. Por esa razón, todo lo que hace Pam Bondi y bueno, toda la administración de Donald Trump es ayudarlo y encubrirlo de todo lo posible. Pero interesantemente, sin querer, Pam Bondi admitió gran parte de esto. Así que escucha esto, por favor. Saca tus propias conclusiones. La alcaldesa de Washington, D.C. usa la conferencia de Pam Bondi para desmontar el argumento sobre el crimen. Presentada como esfuerzo para combatir el crimen generalizado, la toma de control federal de Washington, D.C. por parte del presidente Donald Trump probablemente fue diseñada desde el principio con un motivo oculto. Así lo sugirió el sábado la alcaldesa Muriel Bowser. Una revisión de CNN sobre los datos de criminalidad de la capital del país encontró que desde el 7 de agosto, apenas 2 días después de que la administración de Donald Trump tomara el control del Departamento de Policía Metropolitano de Washington, D.C., funcionarios federales habrían arrestado a 300 migrantes sospechosos de estar ilegal en el país. Un aumento explosivo en comparación con los datos anteriores sobre arrestos de migrantes en la ciudad, donde el promedio era de 2 arrestos semanales desde que Donald Trump asumió el cargo en enero. Hablando con CNN, Bowser dijo que los datos sobre arrestos de migrantes, junto con una orden reciente de la fiscal general Pam Bondi, sugieren que la toma de control bien podría haber sido un pretexto para ampliar las redadas migratorias de la administración. Bondi dijo, Bowser se enfocó casi exclusivamente en la aplicación de leyes migratorias y en el desmantelamiento del campus de personas sin hogar. Bondi, dijo Bowser, se enfocó casi exclusivamente en la aplicación de leyes migratorias y en el desmantelamiento de campos de personas sin hogar, según declaró a CNN. Así que te dejo a ti sacar tus propias conclusiones. Hasta el sábado, había miles de agentes federales y miembros de la Guardia Nacional patrullando las calles de la capital del país, con 2.000 tropas recientemente autorizadas por el secretario de Defensa Pete Hegseth para portar armas, considerando el costo significativo de desplegar a miles de agentes federales y tropas de la Guardia Nacional. Varios críticos han ridiculizado la toma de control como algo meramente performativo, especialmente dado el bajo número de arrestos, siendo una parte significativa de ellos migrantes. Donald Trump siempre está montando espectáculos y básicamente esto es uno más, y lo que él quiere, como te dije anteriormente, es sentar un precedente, que la gente piense que gracias a él Washington está más segura, obviamente obligar a los medios tradicionales a que digan que Washington es segura gracias a Trump, y repetir esto en otros estados uno a uno. Hay que tener en cuenta cuál es el fin de Donald Trump, qué es lo que él quiere, porque su esfuerzo como tal no es para eliminar el crimen. Esto es para que Donald Trump pueda tomar el control de ciudades, para que pueda llegar a ti y te dé miedo de votar. Como te lo acabo de decir anteriormente, te lo expliqué muy bien, creo yo, que lo que él quiere es hacer esto para posteriormente eliminar el tema de votaciones electrónicas para que la gente sí o sí tenga que ir a las calles a votar. Este es el mismo uso de poder, la extralimitación gubernamental que vemos por parte de Donald Trump para ocultar y tratar de no hablar nunca de los archivos de Jeffrey Epstein. Y es más, me encantaría que escuches a la senadora Elizabeth Warren decir lo que dijo dentro de esta entrevista. Mira, por favor.
Senator, there is just so much to talk about right now, unfortunately, but I know what is top of mind for everyone is Donald Trump's attempts to cover up his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And we just saw essentially what is clearly witness tampering, extracting out of Ghislaine Maxwell that Trump is just a lovely guy, a perfect gentleman, and she's so proud of him. Do you think this cover-up, what he's gotten Ghislaine Maxwell to say, of course looking for a pardon, does anything to help his case, or does this just bring more attention to the cover-up?
No, I don't think he's helping himself at all here. I think this was like the fake move over to, we'll ask the grand jury to release information, along with the move before that, if there's nothing here to see, the whole... But I just see this as, remember where we were a year ago, right? It's August, there's a presidential race going on. Donald Trump is out there making promise after promise after promise, including stirring up over and over and over the whole Epstein files thing and saying when he is president, he is going to release all the Epstein files. I think what we're seeing now is more people saying, hey, I remember what you said, now do it.
Yeah, do you think we don't need to connect all of those messages together? Because sometimes I feel like this issue can stand alone, right? It is clear that this is a class issue. Donald Trump protecting the wealthy, the well-off, the well-connected, and himself, of course, because Pam Bondi shutting down this investigation didn't just help Donald Trump, it helped everyone else who more information would have come out against. So do you think that we need to tie in this betrayal to all the others, or do you think it kind of just stands alone?
Look, I'm not sure it's an either or. it kind of depends on how much time you've got, but you can keep going through issue after issue after issue where Trump has said one thing, promised one thing, and then turned around and done the other. Look, Trump promised that he was going to end that war in Ukraine with one phone call, right? And how many Ukrainians have died since then? Trump promised that he was going to end the war in Gaza, right? And look what's happened. We're on day 215 of the Trump administration, and we're staring down a famine. It is time to end that war. Trump promised on day one he would lower costs for American families. Day 215, and the cost of groceries is up, the cost of utilities is up, the cost of housing is up, the cost of healthcare is through the roof, the cost of school shoes and backpacks and baby strollers are up. So I see this as much more, people are asking for some accountability. They want a reckoning. Yeah. They want to say, listen, Buster, you made all these promises, and people focus in on different ones. And the question is not just the content of each of them. It's, here's a guy, and now I go to your point, who is making this country, now nearly 7 months, work really even better for billionaires, for the guys with power, for the insiders, and telling everybody else, just gaslighting, lying to them, ignoring them, trying to distract them. And I think more and more people are getting wise to that, and they're saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I am going to fight back.
Certainly waking up to the fact that everything he's done is for the billionaire class. And I think this kind of went under the radar, but this is one of my conspiracies. You saw the Rose Garden is now like this shitty just kind of pile of cement that Trump has put together. And he said, oh, well, people don't like mud on their shoes. And it's like, well, I don't think anyone complained. To me, one of his rich buddies who called him up, he's like, oh, you ruined my nice shoes.
My hand-stitched, excuse me, not my nice shoes, my hand-stitched Italian leather, right, rubbed with the butter of virgin cows.
Do you ever notice how rich people love talking about like their leather and their wood? All these celebrity like GQ interviews, they're like, this wood was off a ship. But nonetheless, of course, Donald Trump is helping rich people no matter what it takes to make it happen. And at the same time, he's making sure that big corporations are doing whatever he asks. Now, you have brought up an issue that I think is kind of fallen by the wayside when there's so much going on right now, which is how Donald Trump just intimidated Paramount into canceling Stephen Colbert's show. But something that I think this is part of the broader issue is that Republicans have somehow claimed that they are the free speech warriors, that they defend whatever you want to say you can, and really it's just about them saying like words that make people uncomfortable and like socially isolate you. Republicans are just mad that they don't have friends because they say weird stuff. How do we reshape the debate around free speech to show that progressives are the ones who have always fought for this issue, and it's not Donald Trump and J.D. Vance?
I'm so glad you raised this, because to me, this is where there should be a real investigation about what happened with Stephen Colbert. That Donald Trump is off doing his thing. Stephen Colbert makes a joke about it, pokes at him, and boom, right? The folks who want to be able to do this merger, this multi-billion-dollar merger, there's your billionaires coming in, say, we're going to shut this guy down. And look how he's done this over and over and over, right? He sues 60 Minutes for $1 bazillion, right? He sues the Wall Street Journal, for goodness sakes, because of what he doesn't like. Paramount feels like they got to shut down Stephen Colbert so that they can get their merger approved. And understand, this is not like, I don't like you, I want to turn you off, I don't listen to the program. Everybody has a right to do that. You don't have to listen to somebody. You don't have to provide an audience if you don't want to.
Except us. You do have to listen to us because we're right.
But this is Donald Trump using the power of government to say, not you, and not you. And government has a lot of power in these cases, can make life better or worse for these corporations. And that has an effect on speech that is truly terrifying in a democracy. Donald Trump gets away with this, then who really does report the news accurately, who does tell the jokes,
Yeah.
so that we puncture the would-be king.
And it just, the difficult part about Donald Trump's attack on free speech through the beginning of his administration is I feel like there are so many, even in our party, who are afraid to stand up to it because he does do a good job picking the right enemies, right? Columbia and Harvard are not necessarily institutions that everyone in America is jumping to defend. When Donald Trump goes after law firms, I don't think we have the greatest view in the world, of lawyers necessarily, but he does a good job picking enemies. We know that Donald Trump went after students on Columbia's campus standing up for Palestinian human rights because it would be easy to get Democrats to say, well, maybe we don't necessarily want to talk about that. And so he thinks he can silence them without a lot of pushback. How do we make sure that even with the unpopular institutions that Donald Trump goes after, because not everyone loves universities, how do we make the case that this is important nonetheless? Free speech should be for the people that you don't like. Why can't we make that case? Or why don't we sometimes?
So I think of it this way. It's a great question. And I think of it this way. We don't have a king. Because what kings are able to do is they say, you see anything I don't like and it's off with your head, right? And then nobody says anything. And why is that important? Well, if all the power is in the king and none of the power is with the people, it's perfectly reasonable. Nobody says anything except what the king wants. When you're in a democracy and you truly believe power is with the people, a key part of that is we got to be able to talk to each other. And we got to be able to say things that are obnoxious. And sometimes you got to say things that maybe turn out to be wrong, but you tried it and you tested, and that's what the marketplace of ideas is about. That is key to a democracy. But a would-be king hates that. And so what we got to do is we got to say over and over, whether you like that guy or not, it is really important that he gets to say what he thinks, that he gets a chance to get out there and throw his idea out there and then defend it. And look, saying what he thinks doesn't mean he's insulated from people coming back and saying, hey, listen, Yahoo, you got that one totally wrong. Man, do you have rocks for brains? That's part of the back and forth. But that is different from somebody with the tools of government reaching over and just canceling your show.
And Donald Trump is using the tools of government in ways that he has accused Democrats would. Now, I want to talk about Intel a little bit because Donald Trump has called you a communist and a socialist and a Marxist and every name in the book, but it seems like Donald Trump has beat us towards seizing the means of production. How do you feel about this move that he just made and like MAGA instantly falling in line?
But I think the key is, and MAGA instantly falls in line. You can just copyright that little phrase and get a penny every time somebody says this, because this describes what's happening over and over. But right now, look, if the United States is going to invest money in these companies, I think it's reasonable to ask, what are we getting back for this? How's it going to be used? What is it? Is it being used for a public good, or is it just being used to make a bunch of profits for you? Because if it's just being used to make a bunch of profits for you, no, United States taxpayers should get a piece of that. But for Donald Trump, it's control. Right? This is control.
That's all he's ever after, especially as he has, and this is where I want to end because it's what I think the mainstream media won't cover enough, less control over himself. This is a guy constantly forgetting. He has to cover up his cankles. He has to cover up the bruises on his hands. Why won't the mainstream media call out Donald Trump's cognitive decline, and how bad do you think it has gotten at this point? Where are we in the cognitive decline scale?
Now, look, I only see on TV. He doesn't invite me over. I know you're shocked.
You guys are hanging all the time?
We're just not hanging. We're not there. But I got to say, it is worrisome. And it's not funny worrisome.
No.
It's really pretty scary that this guy can't seem to hold a thread or a thought. And when we don't critically examine that, it's like the part about free speech. It's like you've walled off a whole area you're not even allowed to talk about. That is not healthy for our democracy. We got to always be asking those questions. And that's part of what it means to be the President of the United States. People want to ask you questions, they get to ask you questions.
And I appreciate that you are always asking those questions.
You
And
bet.
thank you so much
Good
for your
to see
time.
you.
You as
Take
well.
care.
Este es el final del video, espero que te haya gustado, que lo hayas entendido. Si fue así, te agradecería de todo corazón que me lo pongas en los comentarios, porque te recuerdo que estos videos tienen la finalidad de que entiendas de política, de que sepas lo que está pasando, no te dejes llevar por lo que dicen los medios tradicionales, lo que dice cualquier persona que te quiere mentir. Recuerda que en este canal nunca vas a encontrar mentiras, nunca ningún político me va a comprar, no hay dinero que sirva para comprarme, gracias a Dios estamos creciendo como comunidad y créanme que eso me llena aún más. Y bueno, aunque esté de más, si te gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, si te gusta saber lo que está pasando realmente en Estados Unidos, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.